What's up guys, it's your boy Lordology here, and in today's video I wanted to do something a little bit different where I discuss the events of Haytham Kenway's life during the events of Sequence 3 and 4 of AC3. Now this is a very interesting part of Haytham's life that I really wish that the game had covered, because it really does explain how Haytham changes as a person, especially because in the first few sequences of Assassin's Creed 3, Haytham, even though he's shown killing Miko the assassin in the opera, other than that, he's shown as someone who wants to free slaves and help the native people of America, and he also wants to fight against tyrannical rule, like people like Edward Braddock, for example, who he does end up assassinating in Sequence 3 in particular. But something that really is a bit disjointed when it comes to his morality is that when you get to the later parts of the game where you're playing as Ratul Negedun, it's a funny thing that Haytham would just happily kill and assassinate interrogation targets, and he has this real cold demeanor compared to how he was a bit more suave, a bit more charismatic, and also a bit more merciful in the first parts of the game. And I think that this bridge in particular between Sequence 3 and 4 is what hardens him as a killer, and also what makes him into, well, the Templar Grand Master that we all know and love during the events of Assassin's Creed 3. Obviously, all of this that I'm about to describe does take place during the Assassin's Creed 3 novel Forsaken, written by Oliver Bowden. It is a great read if you guys haven't had a read of it. It is pretty good. And also The Secret Crusade is probably one of my personal favorites, which covers all of Altair's life, which, for those who don't know, he is my favorite Assassin's Creed character, Altair being the absolute badass that he is. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's get into it. At the conclusion of Sequence 3 of AC3, Charles Lee is inducted into the Templar Order. Haytham spends a few weeks camping with Zio straight after this, and after some time, Lee arrives to inform him that Jimmy Holden, who was Haytham's carriage driver and ally at the start of the game, had located his sister Jenny, and Lee reveals to Haytham also that Braddock had in fact finally died. Zio, realizing that Haytham had lied about Braddock's death, forces him to leave after he promised he had killed him, but he had in fact survived his wounds for a few days, so obviously she was quite pissed about that. Haytham spends the next 2 years with his friend Jimmy, tracking down his sister, and finally after locating her in Damascus, both Haytham and Jimmy save and free her. But Jimmy stays behind to let them escape and gets captured himself. And in this time, Jimmy is sent to a monastery in Egypt where he's forcibly castrated and turned into a eunuch. Haytham tracks down Jimmy's location in Egypt where the castration took place, and upon seeing his close friend being buried to his neck in sand, Haytham, understandably so, goes into an absolute fury and slaughters all of the priests in the monastery, and it's the first time we see Haytham lose total control of his emotions. Jenny and Haytham spend the next few weeks tending to Jimmy's wounds, and Jenny spends much time talking about their past, and reveals to Haytham that their father Edward was in fact an assassin. And after figuring out that Birch was a Templar, she had informed Edward of this development, and she also made mention of Edward's journal to Haytham, which Haytham realized was the same journal that was kept with his training sword, which he revealed to Birch unknowingly as a child, which he explains to her. And of course, as many people know, Haytham revealing that to Birch through an innocent mistake is what ended up leading to the first blonde assassin in the franchise being badly killed, which, let's not talk about that because it upsets me. Anyway, Jenny and Haytham plan to attack and kill Birch, the Grand Master of the Templar Order, for killing their father. And after an attack on Birch's compound, Jenny, after a struggle with Birch, impales him on a sword, avenging her father after years of slavery. Haytham is injured during the attack, and after he recovers, his friend Jimmy unalives himself. I'm not going to say the word because I know YouTube is going to get upset with me, as he struggled to live as a eunuch. Jenny returns to live in the Kenway's mansion back in London, which does have story implications for Assassin's Creed Unity and Syndicate. And a little tidbit or Easter egg, if that's what you want to call it, Elise de la Serre, who is the daughter of Francois de la Serre, the Grand Master of the Templar Order during the start of Assassin's Creed Unity, and also Arnaud's love interest, she actually got to meet Haytham's sister Jenny, and in fact had given her an heirloom, a Templar heirloom that is. So Cool little interesting fact there. But anyway, after this, Haytham returns to the colonies, and around the year of 1758, the events of Assassin's Creed Rogue take place, which I will be discussing Haytham during the events of Assassin's Creed Rogue in a different video. Now, many fans wonder why Haytham didn't become an assassin after finding out who his father was, though by the year of 1758, Haytham was already the Grand Master of the colonial rite of the Templar Order, and he believed strongly in the ideals of the Templars. And even though Birch was the leader of the Templars, his order to attack the Kenway Mansion was actually his decision alone, and not of the Order itself. Another reason why Haytham would not have turned at this point, in my opinion at least, is because he was already an enemy to the Assassins, and if he tried to turn, he for sure would have gotten himself killed, which would have been pointless, as I'm sure Haytham would have realized this. Now, I think that this part of the book does a really good job of explaining Haytham as a character, and also gives him a lot more context to why he changes so much compared to how he is at the start of the game, specifically during the prologue. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you learnt something, whether that be about Haytham, or maybe during my 5-minute tangent there, or even about Assassin's Creed Hexe. Are you guys excited for that particular AC? Do you think Ubisoft is going to be able to deliver, or do you reckon they're going to drop the ball? I guess we'll see soon enough. And I also want to say a massive thank you to my channel members for helping and supporting me on the channel, as it does allow me to record and edit a lot more, so a big thank you to you guys. And if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button, as it would really help me out with the YouTube algorithm so more people can check out my content. And if you guys enjoyed this and want to see more and get notified when I release a new video, just smash that subscribe button. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Still, I'm proud of you in a way. You've shown great conviction, strength, courage. All noble qualities. I should have killed you long ago. Wanna get wahir agani.